Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Cambodia Economic Growth Policy Dialogue. Today we have the pleasure to have Mr. Chowdhury, and we will talk about e-commerce, which is a subject of great importance for our economy as we speak now. The industry is thriving, and if I look at what's happening in the world now, e-commerce is everywhere. It's not something that 20 years ago when we applied to join the WTO that people know much about it. But now we fast forward 20 years later, the industry, e-commerce is booming. And I can only see that it will continue to grow, it will continue to prosper, particularly with our young population, our youth, all these savvy, young, very capable entrepreneur will take advantage of this technology and develop an industry. Cambodia, we have a lot of traditional industry. You're talking about manufacturing, garment, footwear, travel bag, but these are not the industry that most Cambodian, aside being they working in this factory. But in terms of entrepreneurship, I would say e-commerce is their future. So I would say I want to turn to, can I call you Super Deep?
Deep or Deep?
Yes, Deep. Yeah, Deep, easier. Deep, you did a lot of work, for the government, for the Ministry of Commerce, but this is something that I'm quite proud when I read this report on e-commerce in 2024. It's a comprehensive review of the e-commerce landscape in Cambodia, addressing challenge, initiative, and opportunities. It's quite an impressive publication, and that's why I asked you to come to have a dialogue on this particular subject matter. So, Deep, since when you came to Cambodia?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dr. Siphana, for having me. So I came to Cambodia in 2003.
Oh.
So it's been almost 22 years.
Yes.
So it's home.
Yes,
I've been living here and I never left this country. So
All right. And you've been pretty much working on this technological industry, right?
Yes, so I came here to start an international auditing firm way back in 2003.
Okay.
That was my first job in Cambodia. Then I moved to a distribution industry as a CFO, and then joined a telecom company, where my last full-time position was executive director.
Well, if we focus on e-commerce, it's quite clear that the global market is booming. China is driving the industry. Wow, I mean the statistic is mind-boggling. Yes. 1.4 trillion in e-commerce. Trillion, I can only imagine up to billion, okay? But trillion, I don't know how many zero there. But the US is coming after, is 1.2 trillion. Japan is 169 billion, UK 129 billion, Germany nearly 100 billion. But these are the big boys. These are the big boys. In your perspective, working in Cambodia for the last 20 years, how have you seen the growth of the industry?
Yes, when we started, let me get back to a few years back. So why we started this initiative. So it was during COVID time, and we saw a trend that there was a significant surge in online purchase, especially for fashion.
Yes.
And the question we had in our team that people are not going out, but why they are actually spending money on fashion. So that was kind of a trigger for us to actually deep dive a little bit. And then we found some interesting results that though people were not actually going out, and the social media was actually coming up, especially with Instagram, early TikTok days maybe. So we saw that people were actually posing. So we saw an interesting trend. And then we did our first report around 2020, and we found that, yes, e-commerce is on the rise. And we found that some of the countries, neighboring countries, they were pretty much at the same stage like 5 years ago.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, and then so we felt that, okay, this is something which requires a little bit of introspection. So that's how it got started. So to answer your question, Dr. Siphana, is e-commerce is actually definitely on the rise. And I think the country has taken the right steps towards making it more robust. And I think we strongly feel that it's just a matter of time where e-commerce will be a big contributor to the GDP of Cambodia.
From my perspective, e-commerce is pretty much driven by the private sector, right? But you cannot, as a state, anyway, I'm speaking as a state, the state must have established or set up ecosystem, the infrastructure backbone to enable the private sector to use this technology to drive e-commerce. What is your view on our current ecosystem?
Okay, thank you again for this question. So any e-commerce or any business cannot thrive without a proper infrastructure. And Cambodia has been fortunate, and I think the government has taken a very conscious decision to enable the infrastructure is in place. So we have one of the highest mobile penetration, which actually helps. Then we had Bakong KHQR,
Yes.
which was a very strong and a very fruitful initiative from the National Bank of Cambodia, which actually helped the confidence. And one more interesting thing I also want to say that, the marking of the streets in Cambodia, which actually helps a lot because
Really?
yes, because delivery people actually find it a little bit challenging if streets are not marked. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Siphana, is east-west of Phnom Penh is all even numbers, and northeast are all odd numbers street-wise.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that
never
actually
pay
helped.
attention.
Yes, and that probably actually, I mean, like that's probably actually helped. And also in the rural areas, there was like 5, 7, 10 years down the line, like we had some challenges, but I think that has also been fixed. So yes, so you exactly know where to deliver. You have the mobile network, which covers probably, and we have more than 100% penetration in mobile in Cambodia. And then we have this KHQR, so which actually gives you a lot of confidence. And yes, definitely the big players are also coming, and they would not come if the infrastructure is not in place. So yes, in short, we have the readiness that is required. But yes, there are areas which requires to be worked upon, which is applicable for any jurisdiction, any countries globally.
From a policy perspective, we Cambodia commit to have an e-commerce law way back when we are negotiating the accession to WTO, way back. So it's more than 20 years. It took a very slow start. For about 10 some years, there's no movement on that side. So I came back from Geneva, and that time Minister of Commerce, Excellency Sun Chantal, called me. He say, brother, you commit e-commerce law in the WTO accession, but now I want you to come back and have a look because we're not going anywhere. So it's a funny anecdote why we're so slow, because when I went there and I meet the official, and I asked them, say, why you're not pushing the e-commerce law? You push many other commercial law, right? Company law, trademark, copyright, IP stuff. It was fine, but what's wrong with e-commerce law? And the response was quite interesting. He said, well, when we look at e-commerce, there's so much technical aspect and we don't know what it is. Data encryption, decryption, data. They would just say, look, if we don't know much, we are not going to stick our neck because we may have to defend eventually, in Parliament, and you are not in a position to explain why take the risk. So that's why 10 years was lost, mainly because, we are not comfortable pushing the agenda. But anyway, fast forward, we put some time, we explain, and finally, 2019, can you imagine that? Nearly 20 years. 2019, we finally managed to push that law over the hump. But it's over now. We have the law, and the market is quite confident that there's enough regulation to enable them, the player, to move into the industry. So I'm quite happy to see the fruits of something that we planned 20 some years ago to bear fruit now. But from back to our current e-commerce situation, policy-wise, regulation-wise, are you comfortable that we have enough, regulation in place to regulate the industry?
Yes, the short answer is yes, but definitely there are a lot of work that needs to be done. So as you mentioned, Excellency, that 2019 we had the law after a lot of deliberations. And 2020 we have the e-commerce strategy, which we were also fortunate enough to come in as an M&E consultant, monitoring and evaluation. And we found something which we highlighted in the report. We had a lot of interministerial consultations, and one of the recommendation was actually to appoint an anchor, which I think the Ministry of Commerce have already identified. It has not gone live yet, but it has already been identified. So the basic framework was actually done. So we have an e-commerce law, we have an e-commerce strategy in place. We also have, it's compulsory for anybody doing businesses in e-commerce to be registered with Ministry of Commerce.
Yes.
So that's also one good, advancement to ring fence the challenges of e-commerce. So, and then as I mentioned that Ministry of Post and Telecom, Ministry of Economy and Finance, they are also working together to ensure that e-commerce thrives. And for us, e-commerce is just a commerce. We just have the electronic aspect into it.
Yes.
But when you come with electronic word, it comes with definitely a natural challenges like cybersecurity and all. And I think data protection, which I believe you are also part of the consortium. So that's something which is going to be challenged, and this not only in Cambodia, it will be globally a challenge. Data protection, cybersecurity laws. So once those are in place, I think we will be. It will give us a more sense of comfort for consumers to trade more in e-commerce, use more in e-commerce. But as I mentioned during the earlier part of the conversation, is we have actually done the basics right. The foundation is already there. We already have the highways. It's time for us to probably get new cars and fly on the street.
You got a highway, you got new car on the street, but then when there are a lot of car, there be some accident. And why I say that, because when you have transaction, there be dispute, quite clear. And one of the reasons why, I'm a lawyer, okay, so I always think from that legal perspective, when we have dispute, how do we handle that? And I look at the civil code, for example, right? There's a lot of lawyer now, trading, doing business, representing client, and I'm pretty sure at some point as the amount, the volume of e-commerce will grow, there'll be dispute. But when dispute kicks in, will our civil code have provision to handle that, right? So, because say for example, the court would not take the signature, whatever, as a proof that you have actually, when you sign, right, e-signature, right? When you do transaction, I want to sell you my car, and I pay you. If we sign a contract, it's physical, right? So, but then certainly you do e-commerce is all in cyberspace. When you click the button accept, so there is an exchange. But how does the Cambodian court at some point will have to deal with that, right? Because evidence issue, physical, online, these are the things that at some point, the system will take care of it. But I'm just anticipating that these are the sort of things that some challenge. Of course, you're not a lawyer, you wouldn't really care, but I would say these are the sort of infrastructure that we have to take care. And I hope that whoever is watching that, I hope there's some judge or some lawyer who say, wait a minute, we have to think of this provision. We have to introduce some amendment of our law to make sure that e-commerce dispute are handled, right? So I'm just speaking off the cuff of my head, right? Let us come back to something more real, because stuff that we just discussed now are so macro, and for somebody who is sitting now somewhere in BKK trying to transact, they don't care what we just talk about. But let's talk something that they can relate about, right? E-commerce marketplace. How big is a marketplace, and what are the sectors that e-commerce can move in and make a difference?
Okay, so based on our study, we saw that in 2024, the total e-commerce market is around circa 1.1 billion. And by
1.1 billion?
Yes.
Wow.
And by 2029, under the normal progression, we expect it to be around 1.9. But if regional trade agreements are in effect, like DEFA, I think it can probably leapfrog by multiple times, multiple X. There were some studies which was mentioned around it can leapfrog by probably 5x or 6x, which I can't remember exactly. But this is actually the numbers we are talking about. And this is, I would say, kind of a pragmatic but conservative numbers. And if the technological aspect is in place, if we have more confidence on payments, which is a little bit of a challenge, I think the transaction volume can go up significantly. But one thing is actually quite important to note, that the definition of e-commerce is quite broad and inclusive. You have to include food delivery, you have to use ride hailing, all actually. Anything which is transacted electronically falls under the ambit of e-commerce. The sectors which we found quite interesting, and we have deep dived almost to 12 industries this year. So the top industries would be fashion.
Fashion.
Yes. Retail, food, insurance is has got a huge prospect. So these are the industries which we have deep dived, and we have actually made some shorts where we have actually given us snippets about what each industry is looking like, and what's the quantum and what's the opportunities for the e-commerce to thrive. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Here, I mean, I need to decouple a bit the issue, because we talk about e-commerce, but we have to also be mindful there's also the digital trade. Any difference there?
Yes, digital trade is kind of a grandfather, right? It's gives you a little bit of a more global perspective.
Yes.
And that's why digital trade is quite critical. So just to interject, like, we are also responsible for drafting the digital trade strategy for the government. So we are submitting the first draft very soon in the coming days. And that's one of the main reasons to have a digital trade policy or a strategy in place, because this will give you a kind of a framework where the e-commerce will operate. So that's quite critical. And if you see, the digital trade globally has been increasing year on year. And Cambodia, we strongly feel that Cambodia should have a digital trade policy in place, or a digital trade strategy in place, which will give a kind of ring fence for investors, stakeholders to have a confidence that okay, this is a framework, this will be a more of an enabler. E-commerce is, as you mentioned, Excellency, that it will grow. It's a private sector. They are transacting in BKK1 as we speak, so that will grow. But coming back into your comments about the judicial thing, so digital trade policy or a strategy will actually help to ring fence the potential challenges. And having some disputes, I believe, is a good problem to have instead of having no transactions. So I think we should be happy to have those good problems.
So, but from the WTO perspective, they will regulate the digital trade, right?
Yes, they will definitely, because there are reference points which has to be adhered to.
Yes.
So our work, which we cannot disclose at this point of time too much, we basically took care of every aspect. We have the right consultants. We are discussing very closely with ministries, especially Ministry of Commerce and other interministerial consultation is going to have. So yes, WTO definitely has a say. So basically they have the framework. So we are actually following that, and we are trying to adopt the best practices.
Yes.
And one thing I always say this, Excellency, is that Cambodia has an advantage. We do not have to unlearn a lot.
Yes.
We learn the new things. So like, for example, if you see the adoption of smartphone users, the penetration is quite high, right? And even say, for example, in the coming years, if 5G comes in, I think it will be embraced. Yes, there are debates whether Cambodia is ready for 5G. Yes, that is a whole separate discussion. But I think in terms of knowledge, adoption, I think we are up there.
Okay, good. Industry-wise, how many, industry or sub-industry e-commerce now sort of like cover or enable?
Yeah, it's a this is something which has triggered a lot of thoughts. So recently we saw that our Prime Minister has said that informal economy is around 26.4% of the total GDP. And I think it is fair to say that e-commerce is a part of it. If not a significant part, it's a part of it. Because we can also say that when we are doing research on coffee recently, the market size of coffee, and we found that a lot of small vendors are actually there, unorganized, but they are working in a pattern. So because there is technology in place, there is Bakong or KHQ are in place, people are coming, and the less and less usage of cash. So it's all digital payments, right? So to sum up, I think this is something which is going to grow because the informal economy is quite significant. E-commerce plays a very, a pivotal role. Sometimes it can actually act as a catalyst, but we have to wait and watch, like how it actually transforms. So that requires a little bit of in-depth study, I believe. And industry-wise, I think not many are actually insulated from the e-commerce. So everything is now e-commerce. But having said that, it's also important to understand that e-commerce also includes social commerce, because many of the trading is actually...
that's one thing that I'm not sure the different social commerce, e-commerce. What is social commerce?
Social commerce is
as compared to normal commerce.
Yeah, social commerce is basically the usage of social media, like the Facebook. Facebook Live, TikTok Live, which is gaining a lot of momentum. So if you ask me, like, okay, what are the top e-commerce companies in Cambodia? It's a tough take, because a lot of the transactions are actually happening through this social commerce. People are coming live, selling. Of course, there are regulations in place that you need to have license and registration. There are developments in that factor, but yes, still a lot of things needs to be, you need to bring them into the licensing regime. It will take a little bit of time, but that's, in my opinion, in social commerce. Taobao, for example, has really influenced, and there's a lot of transactions actually happening in Taobao.
Well, I'm not a IT savvy, or so I'm pretty much an IT idiot. So I don't know a lot of this thing, but I would say what come to mind, of course, e-commerce. I see Grab, Nyam24 delivering food. To me, it's a that's probably e-commerce. But there are other sectors more sophisticated, right? You mentioned insurance, for example, the banking industry, for example. These are not something that the normal guy can just set up, but then they play a big role. Selling insurance online is quite a novelty, I would say.
Yes.
I think AIA is doing all digital, right? I think so.
Yes, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but there is a big, they are leaning a lot towards digitalization. AIA, yes, Prudential,
Yeah.
as, they have a lot of products, Manulife,
Yeah.
and I think more or less all the insurance companies, they have to do, because
Yeah.
opportunities is huge, Excellency. The penetration is single digit, right? And I think it's just a matter of time when this awareness is, has reached out to a lot of people, and insurance is going to be one of the shining star in the e-commerce space.
In the banking, what sort of activity is considered as e-commerce?
Okay.
In the finance sector, of course.
Okay, so any products which you sell online, that would be coming under the ambit of e-commerce, because e-commerce is a very general definition.
Yes.
But bank actually has a huge role to play in fostering the e-commerce growth, because at the end of the day, when you talk about a KHQR,
Yeah.
it's actually coming from the bank, right?
Okay.
So they are the system in which all the transaction goes through. So yes, that is if that actually answers the question.
So from the payment system, is the bank who drive all that, right? Of course, because you cannot do business without getting paid. What are the challenge right now, if you think there is, when it comes to this payment system? Are we okay in that? Do we have enough payment system? Do we have enough fintech to enable, e-commerce to thrive?
I would say I can't really say whether it's a yes or a no.
Yeah.
But the confidence of the consumers is quite high because of online payment acceptance. Having said that, we have also seen that the cash on delivery is actually quite high compared to e-payments, and that is something because of probably lack of confidence in the payment system. And security is one of the very critical things. So people like to say that, okay, you deliver, I'll pay you on I will not use online upfront. And the credit card penetration in Cambodia is relatively low now. Right? So that needs to be worked out. And I think we mentioned in our report that is something which we need to be working on, including data security, because at the end of the day, you want to see something before you pay.
Yeah.
Because then the disputes will come. So that needs to be bridged. And if we are working towards the right direction, I think that is just a matter of time.
Most people buy what through online? Electronics, clothing? What?
I think fashion. A lot. Clothes.
Fashion.
Clothes, cosmetics. That's actually. And then I think the next close one is electronics.
Okay.
That's something which is really we have seen a
Now,
lot.
I can relate to if you buy an iPhone, because we know the iPhone is the iPhone, or Huawei is Huawei. But clothes, when you come back and I just put 2 more kilo, it don't fit. What happened?
Yeah, I can give you an example, right? When Amazon started, it took them many years, almost a decade, to actually make it profitable.
A decade?
And almost, yeah, more than that. So there were actually questions that why you are spending money when you are burning so much. One of the interesting findings which I read is the it does not fit, as you mentioned, right? I buy a suit or something, it does not fit. So exchange, and actually it was a big killer because the buyer didn't want to pay for that additional delivery fees, right? So that actually was a challenge, but they overcame it, and with all those, now it's like more customized. We learn from mistakes, and as I said earlier, Cambodia has an advantage, and I think we should really leverage on it. We can learn from other people's mistakes.
We can learn from other people.
Mistakes more than we can.
So sometimes, being not the first mover have its own advantage.
Yes.
Being the third or the fourth mover, you can watch the first three make mistake.
Right.
So this is quite interesting point you made. So I think so. In that sense, the system, the global system, the regional system is learning enough from these hiccups to enable a smoother flow of e-commerce. So we talk about payment. We still have some trust issue. That will take time to build. The issue of healthcare. What do you think e-commerce in healthcare can do?
I think quite a bit because Cambodia is looking forward for a robust healthcare system. I think if you are talking about working with international hospitals and do something like telemedicine,
yes,
I think that is something which is a big scope for the medical industry to thrive, because it's all about consultation, right?
Yes.
Say, for example, countries like China,
Yeah.
India, they have a lot of clinical data, huge amount of clinical data, which a small country may not have,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And if there is a transfer of knowledge through I think telemedicine, I think there is a huge scope on the e-commerce space.
Yes.
But yes, I am always very bullish about healthcare, education in Cambodia, and online education is also a part of it. So I think it's just a matter of time, and from here it's just going to grow up. Be it healthcare, which has got a huge prospect, insurance, which is kind of connected, health insurance, and then education online, which is kind of, there is a common thread between all those three.
But for healthcare, we need to have a good data protection to make sure that the privacy of the patient is not
Compromised.
violated or compromised.
That's actually a very, very key aspect. And once the patients have that confidence, because this is very private, this is very personal.
Yes.
And you cannot just leave your data. I mean, I think it's probably easier to give your passport details than your health issues you have, right? Because this is very, very personal. So I think it's a trust which has to be enabled. Without that, I think it will not really fly. This is my personal opinion.
Education is another area that I think e-commerce can really help us, boost the educational aspect of many of the people not just in the city, but more so in the provincial area. What's your analysis of the education side of it?
See, education, we are actually in a very interesting phase now. This is like where we are actually into kind of a lifelong learning, right?
Yes.
And most of the educations now, I mean, not most, a significant part is actually going online. So you can actually go online, and thanks to COVID, which was actually a good enabler for everybody to interact. So yes, there is no substitute for having in-person class, one-on-one class, but online education is a big industry in itself. If you see globally, this is a big business, and Cambodia is going to be benefited out of it. Say, for example, if you want Cambodians to be good in mathematics, and you only have few teachers, right? So online is the answer, right? You subscribe online classes. That's where the opportunity, in my opinion, is. Like one teacher who is based in Phnom Penh can actually educate and teach people, say, for example, in Siem Reap or
Yes.
Battambang
Yes.
or anywhere. So I think that is something which requires infrastructure, which of course the private sector will come in. It requires good internet connections, connectivity. It requires data security because that's I always advocate for data security because cyber security is going to be the biggest challenge for the upcoming generations.
Yes.
We probably have caught over it, but cyber security is something which needs to be really looked in. But if all those aspects, see, we cannot fix everything in one day, right?
Yeah.
Cyber security, like, there will be always a new mechanism to penetrate, right? But we have to be mindful of the risk. So if you understand the difference between risk assessment and risk identification, I think that's very critical. I may sound like an accountant now, which, but it's very important to understand the risk and work towards risk mitigation. Identification is not the answer. It's risk assessment is the answer.
Okay.
And that is quite relevant for e-commerce development in general.
Well, I think the good thing about Cambodia is that we're an open economy, so we are very much welcoming external expertise. You're a good example of that expertise. To do risk assessment, you need a broad experience. You need a broad exposure to what's happening in the world of e-commerce, in the world of digital trade. You think we have enough capacity to deal in this field of risk assessment, risk identification?
I would say, okay, before I answer yes, because that would be my answer, I think Cambodians, in at least what I see, especially in the major cities, we have a very good qualified accountants, thanks to the interest of the young generation. So finance degrees are quite actually on the rise, which is actually a good how do you say, a baseline for actually understanding the risk.
CamEd is a good school.
Yeah, I mean, like they are definitely one of the prominent ones now. But like because we hire from our small firm, like we also hire from a lot of universities, like all the major universities, and we find that people are really eager to understand the finance, and they also understand the risk. So whenever we have our own, like a program or something, we talk a lot about risk because it's very important to have a risk based approach, because then you may go wrong, but at least you have a mindset that, okay, if I take these wrong decisions, you will not be abrupt, or you would not be just doing things for the sake of doing things. So yes, so coming back to your question, do we have enough? See, we are embracing a huge change in digital transactions. And I think many of the banks, which I know, they are facing it as a regular challenge. There are fraud, there are fakes, it's happening, and and I'm sure in the coming years there would be more targets for the older population. Thankfully, we do not have a huge old population, but I think in 10 years' time, the numbers are going to multiply. So those will be susceptible to those risks. So I'm talking about this financial risk. So, but again, risk is risk and ethics is actually, you have to work a little bit up here. It's not only on the books. But yes, if with this the age of internet, where I sometimes feel there is a little bit of an over information, but I think if you can filter it and have a risk mindset that I should not be doing this one without thinking of the consequences. I think that would be an answer. But to answer your question, I think Cambodia is capable, but yes, we do require constant education and awareness.
Interesting. We cover quite a broad spectrum of e-commerce, from law, policy, infrastructure, down to the sectoral aspect of it. In sum, how do you see e-commerce in Cambodia? Where do we stand now, and say if we project 10 years from now, what is your assessment?
So 10 years from now, I think definitely the numbers will be very, very high, provided we address and work towards the risks and also the challenges, because it's very important to accept those challenges, not to ignore.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be very truthful about that. One of the aspects which I feel in the next few years which will be coming is quick commerce. When we say quick commerce,
What is that?
so basically it's a quick delivery,
Okay.
like 10 to 30 minutes. And
Okay.
so the way it operates is like, say for example, we have got a lot of borais there, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there could
yeah.
be something, they call it like a dark store.
Yeah.
So these are like fulfillment centers.
Oh.
And if you just order, it will be delivered in 10 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
It does not necessarily include food, but again, it's a little bit debatable. I think there is a huge opportunity for quick commerce.
Like, give me
Like
what
for
sort
example,
of product?
like we are not buying too many phones, for example.
yeah.
Right. So I think quick commerce is something where you have a trusted platform, and you say that okay, I need it within like 10-20 minutes because I just lost my phone, right?
wow.
So that is an important game changer which is going to happen. It has already happened in countries like China, in India. There is a company called Blinkit which is actually doing amazingly well, 10 to 30 minutes. But they have invested. They have invested in fulfillment centers / dark stores.
Why they call it dark store?
I mean, like there are some tech companies, they call it like a dark store. I
Not
I
the
don't
dark
know.
web.
No, it's not a dark web. Not definitely. So it's basically you just go and pick up,
Yeah,
and there are sorting centers as well,
okay.
very, very quickly. So those things are how do you say?
Interesting.
This is something which I think will be the growth of e-commerce. But if we have things like data security, data protection, keeping the data probably in the country, which is a lot of debate is going on.
Yes.
Challenges, pros and cons. If there is a trust, things will go up from here. There is no doubt.
Wow.
And I think private sector is going to do it. And I want to mention that when we launched this report, LCT Minister of Commerce said that this is probably an initiative of a public-private partnership. I think so. Why I mention this is, I think the private sectors should not always wait for the government. They should do something on their own, and I am pretty sure the government will come and support. Because sometimes it's not easy for just the government to have a policy because there's a lot of consultation. So if there is a proof of concept, I think it can leapfrog. And I believe young Cambodians are capable of actually, taking that leap of faith, have the trust to say, okay, let's start something. I'm sure the government will be there to help.
I can't help but think when I was practicing law about, before I joined the government, sometimes we have a email from London and they ask me all sort of questions for the client, right? It's a long list, a very sophisticated question. And I told them, I said, look, the Cambodian market is not as sophisticated like in London or in Paris yet. So a lot of your questions here are not relevant, right? But the company can come, set up a company, pay your tax, get your company registered, and then you can start. At some point you have to pay tax, right? The taxman will come. Because what you're doing is so novel that when the taxmen come, they don't know where to tax you because it's so novel. It's no different than 15 years ago where they talk about fintech. What is fintech, So, but at some point, the taxman will catch up.
Sure.
It will come. Kung Wibol will come, for sure. But hey, that's what the industry, that's what it's for. So the country is a wide open economy. So yes, come and start something. You have a great idea. The state will come at some point. Or sometimes the state don't need to come. if the private sector partnership is moving, why not? To me, my thinking is that PPP is very specific for certain sector only, not for other sector. So, but if the private sector can handle on their own through a joint venture, for a partnership with a foreign company, they should do it, yeah. But all in all, I would say that's an industry that has tremendous potential for the future. 10 years from now, when we graduate from the least developed country, we have to make sure that e-commerce is one of, by then is no more new source of growth, be a source of growth that will thrive. And we are now working on with the World Bank on Vision 2050. 25 years from now, Cambodia will be a country that will thrive, and for sure e-commerce, digital trade will probably, play a big role, as a economy in a advanced economy. Hopefully 25 years from now will be a high income country.
Yes, we all hope so.
Yes, yeah. So, Deep, it's a pleasure to have you on this particular dialogue, and I learn a lot. It's not something that the normal people, with the exception of a guy who order food from Nyam 24 or Grab, they understand, or order some, fashion or cosmetic from online. But e-commerce is more than that. It's more than that, yeah. And I hope that the audience who is listening to our dialogue can appreciate the complexity of having this particular industry, because it doesn't thrive in a vacuum. It have to have a backbone infrastructure. You have to have rule. You have to have policy. You have to have actor. So, all in all, I would say we're doing okay. So thank you so much, Steve. It's a pleasure.
You so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Yeah. So, like Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're coming to the end of this dialogue, and I hope you can learn something, about e-commerce. As I said earlier, it's more than just e-commerce, because there's so many other concepts, digital trade, electronics, so many things. But let's start with something very simple, how to understand the mechanism on how we can push this e-commerce. I count a lot on the younger generation, because you guys are tech savvy, IT savvy. You can really take this industry to higher ground. And hopefully in a few years from now, Cambodia can join the ASEAN, when we have the ASEAN e-commerce agreement in place. Cambodia can be part of a larger, ecosystem in the region. Yeah. So on that note, I want to say goodbye, and I see you next time.